It's Monday, February 20th, and this is Geeknights. Tonight we do a roundup of tech news. Let's do this.
So I just got back from Katsucon, and I'm not going to talk a bunch about it today because it doesn't really fit into sci tech, and we're really trying to keep on topic for each of the different days a little bit.
Especially when we start doing the separate feeds and people might start heavily subscribing to them. We don't want to have people subscribing to this expecting video games all the time, and then, oh, we talked about anime that day because we were whatever on a whim, and then they'll be kind of disappointed.
Well, that and Katsucon was freaking fantastic. I mean, it was an amazing con. I had a wonderful, awesome, crazy time. I have at least 3 or 4 full podcasts to talk about worth of content from this con if I really wanted to.
I don't think we're going to give you 3 or 4 podcasts to talk about one con.
But I'm doing a full con report on Wednesday, Anime Day, and I'm going to talk a lot about the video gaming that happened at Katsucon tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And various other things. And I would have kind of wanted to talk about more right now, but I'm going to be strangely silent through most of this podcast, at least as silent as I can make myself be, mostly due to the fact that I caught some sort of throat infection at Katsucon.
So it wasn't perfect.
And it was perfect because this didn't affect me until after the con, but it's actually painful for me to talk right now. I didn't even go to work today.
Well, we'll see what happens because next week is the New York Comic-Con.
Yep.
So, all right.
So you had something today, for the weekend while I was out of town.
Oh, a lot of shit happened over the weekend when we were out of town, but most of it was just me getting my personal affairs in order, or more in order than I had them before. And I finished that today by getting my car inspected, which passed inspection being a brand new car and all.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Yeah. So another thing happened is this is a podcast I listen to, which it's actually scarily popular. It's Comic Geek Speak, and it's all about comic books and whatever. And actually their forums are really awesome, a lot more awesome than ours. So that's mainly because they have a bunch of people there. I wish we had that many people.
Yeah, though don't take that the wrong way. The people who are on our forums now are awesome.
Oh yeah, the thing is, it's like what their forums are is like our forums if they were big. That's why I want more people in our forum.
Because we know you're all listening. I can see you in Feedburner, but you're not in the forums.
Yeah, they're awesome, so whatever. Yeah, to get to the forums is frontrowcrew.com/forum.
Yeah, or click on the forum link at frontrowcrew.com.
Which will be bigger once I change the theme to the new theme I'm working on that I'm almost done with.
Yep, he showed me a lot of that he'd gotten done over the weekend when I got back from the con, and I think you're really going to like it.
Yeah, it looks like the forum.
Yeah.
So if you want to know what it's going to look like, look at the forum. All right, that's enough of that. So what happened is my signature in their forum says, listen to Geeknights. We have over 50 episodes. We're awesome, whatever.
Yeah, this is episode 61.
Yeah, fair. And my screen name there, as everywhere else, is APRECHE.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, my screen name is basically Rim, but it's also the name I use in the real world. Like, everyone in the world calls me Rim, except for old relatives who don't really know better, and a couple people at work.
Yeah.
That's a long story. Don't worry about it.
That's been my screen name online for almost 10 years, at least 9 years, probably 10. I don't even know. And I'm the only one who uses it as far as I know. And it's me. If you see that name somewhere, it's me. The thing is until podcasting, it's never been pronounced. And I'm going to spare you the story of where it came from. You can read all about that, in my About page on my blog or something. I don't know. It's somewhere.
Or if we ever do our origin story podcast.
Yeah, it's somewhere on my blog somewhere.
He was bit by a radioactive spider.
Yep, and then all of a sudden my screen name appeared before my eyes in my, radioactive hallucination haze.
Yeah, anyway.
Anyway, so they, the cool guys in the comic podcast, were doing some casual shout-outs to other podcasts, and they shouted out to us, which was nice because they didn't have to do that. I didn't ask them to. They're cool. And I figured I was, kind of an asshole in their forums, but I'm kind of an asshole. I'm kind of an asshole everywhere. So...
Yeah.
I really wasn't that big an asshole. Most of my assholeness was when they were talking about the big comic crossovers and all the things they like so much. I'm like, those things all suck, because they do. But anyway.
Scott's real good at that sort of thing.
Yeah.
If you guys ever meet him in person, I mean, we're all good friends, but Scott's an asshole.
Yeah, you're an asshole too.
Yeah, I'm just a different kind of asshole.
Yeah, the goatsy kind. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Why are we so silly today?
I don't know, but I'm going to finish this story real quick.
Don't worry. I swear to all you guys, once the thing of the day music comes in, we're going to straighten ourselves up.
That's for sure.
And just do the show.
Okay. Oh, really?
Yeah, really.
But 6. So, because it's a podcast and I'm no longer, just typing things, they had to, this is like the third time they've had to do this because I've sent them email before and stuff. They've tried to pronounce my screen name. They had to say it. And it's never really been said. And I really never said it because it's an online text name.
Now, the first time I saw it, which was when we were freshmen at RIT,
Yep.
God, what, 4, 5, 6, 7 years ago? 6 years ago.
6 years ago. 7, who knows?
A long time
It's going
ago.
on 7.
See, when it comes to...
It'll be 7 in, like, September, I think.
God, I feel old. Anyway, when it comes to any sort of online communication, I am basically J. Edgar Hoover. And I have logs and transcripts of every IM conversation I've had going all the way back to when I got ICQ in 1996.
And I'm Richard Nixon, and I go looking in his logs to find scary things.
So, I remember way back anyway when he messaged me, and he asked me, he said he was the guy from this gaming club we'd gone together with. And then I saw his screen name was Apresh. And I just assumed it was pronounced Apresh the first time I saw it.
Mm-hmm. Well, it seems that I never really decided how it should be pronounced, and they couldn't seem to figure it out either. Like, I was really hoping that they would come up with some pronunciation and just be like, yep, that's it. So then I would say, okay, whatever they said is it. But they seem to have some trouble just as I do.
I don't see the trouble. It's Apresh.
Oh, okay, whatever.
I mean, what, Apreshi?
Maybe.
Apresh?
Who knows? It's up to,
Apreche.
I don't know, fate?
Fate?
I don't know.
How about phonics?
Phonics is good. What would let's see, phonetically it would be Apreshi.
It'd be Apresh, probably, because that E would it'd be Apresh, actually, maybe.
Maybe.
I don't know.
So I started a thread on their forum entitled "Pronounce My Name." Let's see. This guy says it should be appreciate without the 8, so that would be appreciate. This person says, Apreche.
Apreche.
Yeah. This guy says sounds like aftershave.
What?
I don't know.
Apreche? Oh, Apreche.
Aprechi? Let's see. This guy just posted a picture of the Prince thing. The next guy says, I didn't know Apreche, whatever, was pronounced as, hey, what wacky stuff can I do to get out of my incredibly shitty record contract and get lots of PR in the process? That was in response to the Prince logo.
Yeah, I figured.
This guy says, I always thought it was Apresh.
See? That's not me, though.
It's pronounced Hafer.
You know what? I think what we're going to have to do is have some sort of poll on the site of how to pronounce it, and then bind ourselves to whatever the result is.
I don't know. Our forum doesn't really have polls. I should implement that or get a plugin. This guy, the person who said Apreche, he posted a thumbs up under that. And this one says Apreche.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. We need to come to some sort of consensus.
Yeah, not that it really matters. I mean, on the show, you're known as Scott.
Yeah, there's a reason for that. And this is part of that. Plus, forget it.
What were you going to say?
I was talking about another podcast where they started out using their online names and they gave up and used their real names.
See, it's weird because a lot of people think that Rim is an online name, but it's not. I go by that in the real world, too.
Yeah, Brandon.
Yeah.
His name's Brandon.
Yeah.
His real name is Brandon. Oh, my God. Call him Brandon. He won't really care.
The only weird thing is there was one guy at RIT who found out my name was Brandon and started calling me that. And I didn't notice. I didn't notice, but I don't... if someone says Brandon, I'm not paying attention, I won't look up. I don't even really respond to it anymore.
Yeah.
But
it's like sometimes people are like, hey, Scott, what's your middle name? And I'm like, Lloyd. Because my mom had this thing with Frank Lloyd Wright, so she was like, Scott Lloyd Rubin. Frank Lloyd Wright,
Uh-huh.
So when I tell that to people, they're like, okay, Lloyd. And then I'm like, I don't care. And then they give up.
Yeah. I mean,
sometimes people call me Ruben, but whatever. I don't care about that either.
Yeah, in high school, some people called me Rim, some people called me DeCoster.
Yeah.
The thing is, I found it was weird because one time
I call you Thomas.
Huh?
Hey, Tom, what's up?
See, actually, it was weird. But one time in high school, senior year, after we'd all graduated, me and a bunch of friends were sitting around at, we've got a bonfire out in the woods, and we're just kind of sitting around, reminiscing, like,
Burn a nation.
this is the end of high school. We're all going to go on with our lives and whatever. The thing that high school kids do before they actually leave their hometown and go to college. Though none of them, I'll note, none of the people I am talking about now actually graduated college.
You know what I did after high school before I went to college?
What?
I went to Israel. I didn't sit around no bonfire in the woods. Well, I think we might have done that at one point, but it was a desert, not a woods.
But we were talking about names, and it came up that half the people I knew called me DeCoster, and the other half called me Rim. And basically, we came to the conclusion that DeCoster was just a real good call a guy by that name. Like, it felt right, so people just called me that a lot.
All right.
Yeah, that I wasn't really going anywhere with that.
Yeah. All my names work. I don't think people like saying Lloyd, and I don't think people like saying my screen name either.
Yeah.
I don't even like saying it. It's not pleasant. It doesn't roll off the tongue.
Yeah, so I think we'll stick with...
It's a real toothy word.
Yeah, it's not going to be Geeknights with Rim and Aperche.
That's for sure.
All right, that music means that it's both things of the day and that we're not going to be silly anymore for the rest of the show tonight.
Of course. That doesn't mean our things of the day aren't silly.
Yeah, so remember way back, I think it was Scott's thing of the day. It was a trailer video with voices to Phoenix Wright.
I don't know. Did we do that? I remember we did the one where you type in words and then Phoenix Wright says them. I don't know if we actually did the one...
If this wasn't a thing of the day, then it was definitely something we talked about in the pre-broadcast episodes.
Yeah.
Because we did talk about it on the show.
Basically, there was a Flash video that was supposed to be a preview of what Phoenix Wright gameplay was going to look like. It was from the Tokyo Game Show. So if you went to the Tokyo Game Show to the Capcom booth and looked at the Phoenix Wright display... This is the video you saw telling you all about how awesome Phoenix Wright DS was going to be.
Well, someone has translated it, and here it is, fully translated, and my favorite part is when it turns out, like, they're arguing about the DS and the not the PSP, the Game Boy Advance and the Game Boy SP. Mm-hmm. And the Edgeworth, the prosecuting attorney, doesn't have a DS, and everyone else does. And then, like, he yells something to the judge, and the judge looks up, and he's like... I've got one. In fact, I'm playing it right now.
Yeah.
Like, during the trial.
And then they're like, Edgeworth, you have to go and get one right after this trial is over. And he's like I have any choice.
It's hilarious. Watch it.
Yeah.
And buy the game if you can find it.
If you can find Phoenix Wright, freaking get it.
It's going for $50-$60 on eBay. It's hard to find.
I got some more news on Phoenix Wright tomorrow, so we'll hold off.
All right.
My thing of the day. You might have seen in the past the old cliched, what was it? I attacked the darkness.
I cast magic missile.
If you don't know what that is,
you're lost at the internet. Go away.
Forget it. Go home, fast forward, whatever.
If there are any girls there, I want to do them.
Yeah. So, instead of dragging that back up, someone's made something newer and even worse, yet it contains far fewer clichéable, repeatable lines, which I guess is okay, but it's called Fear of Girls, and it's live-action short movie, I guess, short film, of two guys, they're definitely acting, pretending to be the scariest D&D players ever, and this,
The scariest part is that I've met people just like this at gaming conventions before.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I think the funniest bits are the LARP bit, the Christian relatives bit compared to the druid sitting
He's
at the
going to hell.
He's going to burn in hell. Whatever. And then the homo suggestions that they make.
Oh, the homoerotic nature of their relationship.
Yeah, but the masked, concealed homoerotic nature of their relationship.
You've got to see it. Just watch it. Oh, my God.
Yeah, if you know anything about scary RPG gamers, then this will disturb and amuse.
So anyway, in the news, like we said, we don't have a particular topic today, so instead we're going to round up all the recent sci-tech kind of news that we have anything to say about. Mm-hmm. Expect a lot of opinions.
Yeah. So, Something that's been a trend lately, or at least a buzzword lately, is pod fading. Now, pod fading, I think they've decided that I don't know who decided, but the colloquial they, I don't know even if they can be colloquial, but they have decided that pod fading means that someone has started a podcast because they want to try it out, and then within 10 episodes, they just stop doing it. It's like someone dips their toe into the pool of podcasting and then pulls it out. And
that's like all those people who make a GeoCities website and then never update it again.
It's like all the thousands of people who are like, ooh, I'll get a live journal, I'll get a blog, and they just don't continue. It's like a thing they try, and then it gets boring, and they stop.
So 10 episodes, eh?
Yep.
We kicked that's ass.
That's for sure.
61 already.
I know.
Not even counting the 10 or so pre-episodes we did.
Mm-hmm.
That while I keep mentioning, no, you're never going to hear them.
We got some of them, right?
Oh, I've got them all.
Yeah.
In fact, they're on the internet if you search hard enough.
Are they really?
Yeah, they are.
We should sell the access to them or something.
Yeah, someday maybe we'll give away a CD with all, because they're terrible.
Yeah. Anyway, so I don't know. People are like making a special name, pod fading, for something that is just happens to anything of this nature. I don't know what the deal is, but people are acting like it's a big problem.
Yeah, I mean, when GeoCities first offered, real space, everyone and their mother made a website for their family.
Mm-hmm.
And then none of those got updated. Most of them disappeared.
Yep. I think they're pretty much all gone now. Even my old GeoCities site is destroyed.
Mine actually was up until at RIT I needed a place to host something real quick, and I remembered I had this account, and I found my ass-old, god-awful website, and I promptly deleted it and put a big file there instead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just stopped taking care of it, and then eventually it was gone. I think I had a GeoCities site, and then I moved to Crosswinds, which is slower but had more space, and then I eventually put it on the RIT hosting. Then we had the web server in the bedroom and whatever.
Oh, yeah. That
Yeah. But, yeah, I'd just like to say, all you pod faders out there, nice try.
Yeah, don't feel bad.
Time.
Happens to everyone except us.
I think it's just more evidence that, as I previously claimed, I don't know if I claimed it on the podcast, but my shit-talking days are over. Well, there you go.
Yep. No, we've said the word shit-talking a lot, and I guess, I'll just warn you that I forget where it came from, but some punker was talking about punk rock one day, and I happened to catch it. And they were yelling at each other, and one guy basically accused the other guy of being a shit-talker, which isn't really the kind of terminology we tend to use for things.
Well, I imagine it's someone who talks shit.
Exactly. We tend to be either verbose in our swearing or very to the point about it. But never, shit talker is really kind of it's more crude than we tend to be, unless we're trying to be crude on purpose.
But shit talker very much means something specific.
Yep, because basically the other guy's like, what the hell's a shit talker? And this other punk, in very great detail, explains that a shit talker is someone who talks shit up, but then never does anything.
As in, you talk the talk without walking any walks.
Yep.
Of walking.
And we realized that we have missed the boat many times where we had an idea and we planned it all out and we just didn't execute it for various stupid reasons.
While we are not shit talkers by definition, very often we have talked shit where we'll be like, oh, well, we're going to do this awesome thing. I got this really awesome idea. I'm going to do it. Yeah, I'm going to do this. And then we don't do anything. We just do shit and we just talk shit.
And then we talk about it.
Yeah. So, I think...
You know what? That's why this podcast is great. All we have to do is talk. So there's no more shit.
Yeah, exactly. By talking, we have avoided our shit-talkingness. And if this weekend of productivity by me is any evidence, I have also avoided shit-talking in other areas. So, fair.
Yep, that theme's actually coming along.
Yep. So, we are shit-talkers, we are not. And shit-talkers, the pod faders are.
Well, you realize that we have to actually make that MMO we've been talking about before we can say anything.
One day.
One day. We'll see.
We're not 100% clear yet.
All right, so what's that next news bit you had about someone stole someone's camera?
So this lady lost a camera. I don't know the details of how it was lost. And people found it. It's apparently these parents and a kid. And it was like this crazy huge news on the internet that someone lost a $500 digital camera. And she found the people who found it. And they wouldn't give it back. They were like, we already bought batteries and a memory cards for it, and our kid really likes it, and we don't want to take it away from him, and he has diabetes. And, yeah. And she's like, well, fuck you, you suck. And, yeah, they do suck. She's like, I want my photos back. Give me my memory cards back. They didn't send her the memory cards. They said they needed them to operate the camera. They copied her pictures to CDs and sent those to her. So she's kind of pissed, and people on the internet were pissed. Now, I was like, yeah, that sucks. Those people suck. But I posted a comment in one or two places saying, you know, while those people suck and they're assholes, and I don't even know, even the worst person I know would give the camera back. I don't know a person that bad. But, you know, finders, keepers, losers, weepers. You should be more careful with your stuff if it's that important to you. I mean, I lose shit all the time and break my own shit all the time. And when I do, I just go, shit happens. What are you going to do? I don't get all upset over it. It's just not worth it.
I like how I just finished talking about how we're not that crude, and you're immediately like, yeah, shit.
Well, that was the point. That was on purpose.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Okay, anyway. You know, but Rim here seems to say that, no, they have to give it back.
Well, keep in mind that I agree with Scott in that you should do your own due diligence. And if you lose something, don't expect to get it back. However, legally, just purely from a legal standpoint, if you find property anywhere, money, whatever, and you can reasonably know or assume that whoever lost it did not intend to lose it, you're obligated to turn it into the police or lost and found or something.
See, the way I was thinking...
the laws vary a bit from state to state, but that's basically what you have to do.
Yeah, see, if that's true, then part of what I said, I feel dumb now, because I was acting like, you know, homeless people pick shit up off the street all the time. Are you saying all of them are thieves? And I'm kind of like, that doesn't make any sense. If someone leaves something lying around on purpose or by accident, you know, it's just the tough shit rule. It sucks, but you should have been...
Yeah, but, like, what's the line?
If you cared about it, you should have...
What's the line? What if you're in the library and you leave your laptop sitting somewhere while you go to pee, you come back and it's gone? The person who stole... All right, if you walk up to a laptop and you find it there, and it's on and Word is open, and you take it, I mean, yeah, the person should have done their due diligence, but you're still a thief.
Oh, yeah, but see, it's kind of like... I kept thinking about the beach, because the beach is a place a lot of people lose things, right? If I'm walking down the beach, and there's an umbrella and a bunch of towels and chairs and books, right? Which is what you usually see if we're at the beach, right? Obviously, those people are in the water. Come on, you know? And you see people in the water. You don't take it because obviously there's someone there. It's attended. If you're walking on the beach and there's, I don't know, a gold fork just in the sand alone, it's yours. Go for it.
Yeah, the law is fairly vague on purpose because that way judges get to decide. But basically,
that's good. That's good because this is something a judge should decide.
Now, I have two anecdotes. Well, actually, three regarding this, and that's
let's
why
stick
we
to
decided
one
to talk about
anecdote.
it. All right, well, one's real short. When I was a little kid, we were in Myers Superstores in Michigan buying groceries, and I saw a $20 bill on the ground.
All right.
And I picked it up, and I didn't say anything about it. And then we were in the car. I said, "Mom, I found a $20 bill," and she said, "Awesome. Share it with your brother. We'll go to the Toys R Us tomorrow."
Awesome.
Yeah. So, all right, whatever. Technically broke the law, but I was a little kid, and whatever. It's $20.
See, I think money is something different because...
Nope, money follows under the same rules, and you have to turn it into the police. That's my second anecdote.
It's true. It's true, but all money, unless someone has an identifying mark on the money or remembers the serial numbers of their money, they can't...
Nope. Or remembers the amount. Because we were at Cedar Point, many years later. I was still kind of young, but... we were taking our picture in these old-time
costumey things, yeah.
Yeah, whatever. And we found a plastic baggie with $300 in it.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, dude, we're buying every video game in the world.
But here's the thing is the plastic baggie is some guy will say...
the plastic baggie had nothing to do with it.
Oh.
Basically, what happens is you have to give it to the police and then say, I found this here, whatever. Whoever lost it has an X number of days, depends on the state and the town and whatever, to try to claim it. Now, basically, you have to identify it in some way. So say you lost money. You have to say within a reasonable degree of how much money you lost. I lost about $300. So if you claim that you lost about $300 and the police find about $300, they give it to you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if no one claims it in X days, they give it back to whoever found it.
Mm-hmm.
Some states take a 10% finder's fee or whatever, but usually they just give you all the money. They don't care.
Yeah, what do they, Oh, we should start calling police stations saying we lost $100.
You could do that. The problem is odds are no one lost the amount of money you're saying.
$20? $20 bills falling all over the place.
Yeah, you know what? People generally don't turn that into the police anyway.
I know, that's the problem.
I do. Well, it depends a lot on the situation.
It does depend a lot on the
because
situation.
the third anecdote is at Katsucon, I was walking around the dealer's room, and I found a small amount of money in a wad on the ground. I saw it there, and I bent over and I picked it up, and I'm looking at it. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, if this were 3 years ago and I was at a con, this would mean I can eat tonight. And I wouldn't have given it back to anyone. But now that I'm fairly wealthy, and we consider ourselves wealthy. We can do everything we want to do.
Yep.
Like we go to cons and we buy food for all the poor fanboys. And
well, not
I
the
look around,
fanboys, but the fangirls.
Yeah. And I see this girl standing there, and she's kind of looking at me, kind of not. And I hold it up and I ask her, "Did you drop this?" And she hesitated for a second. And at this point, I'm 100% certain that it is not, in fact, her money.
Yeah, I am also 100% certain, and I wasn't even there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the thing is, she hesitated, and that's the reason I decided, all right, bullshit. But then she said, yeah. And because I had no other way to know whose it was, and I knew it wasn't mine, I just gave it to her. Whatever.
See, it's like if I found the plastic bag with $300 in it, it's like, okay, someone was at like a water park carrying their money in a plastic bag to keep from getting wet, and this is all their money for the day. I'm going to turn this in. But if I'm walking down the street and there's a $20 bill on the ground, whatever, it's mine.
Yeah. Well, it's like if a cashier gives me too much change back, I'll probably just keep it. I probably won't even notice.
Oh, my God, that's another great story. When I was in Boston, and I was middle school, 8th grade, we're in Boston, and this is the Magic Card days, right? And basically, there was a game store in this place in Boston we went to, right? So we were all about that. We pretty much went to go to the game store, but we went to get lunch at a pizza place, and I gave them a 5, and they gave me change for a 20. That was a whole bunch of packs of Magic Cards they gave me. Yeah. All right,
that was barely tech news, so we'll move on.
Okay, so I don't know how tech savvy everyone is, but if you are an administrator at a company, you want to make it so that no one can use little USB drives and stuff on the company computers. The reason for this is because people will put important company documents on them and leave with them.
See, now I disagree in that if people want to steal your company's secrets like that, and they're easily accessible like that anyway, like you just get them to
Your
their personal
security
PC.
sucks to begin with.
No, not just your security, but if your employees would want to do that, something's wrong with your company in the first place.
That's also true, but the specific situation is that you have someone who, as part of their job, accesses secure important documents, but you don't want them leaving that computer that they're using. So as an administrator, you're responsible to technologically prevent the documents from leaving that computer. They have to do all the work on the company's machine itself,
Yeah, though I will say that as an IT guy, and I do a lot of security work in IT, basically, if someone wants to steal something from your company and they work there, there's nothing you can do to stop them. The only real security when it comes to documents is making sure your employees don't want to or can't benefit from it.
Yep, that's true. But anyway, it's something that you do want to at least do something to prevent. Usually people disable USB in the BIOS because no one's smart enough to turn that back on or something. But the latest problem people are talking about is pod slurping, where people will come in to your company, plug their iPods in to the company computers, run a program that will search for sensitive documents, put them on the iPod, and then leave with the iPods to take your sensitive documents away.
Now, this is nothing new.
Nope.
People are making out like iPods are this new threat. I will note that in the early 90s, I had a game that came on 2 discs. And I basically noticed that there was a lot of free space on the discs. So I deleted a bunch of game files, whatever. I basically re-saran wrapped the executable into a Trojan, and I made disks that you put them in to install this game, and it installs the game. And while it's installing, it searches your computer for doc and text files and copies them to the disk.
Awesome.
Then they give me the disk back, and I have whatever documents they had. I made a slurping Trojan in the early 90s. This is nothing new.
Yeah, this has been a problem ever since floppy disks existed, where you could take data away from a computer and carry it with you. The thing is people are talking about it now because you use an iPod to do it, and iPods don't look conspicuous, and you don't consider them a security threat when you see them around your company. It's like, at my company, everyone has a freaking iPods. I mean, I have one, coworker has one, the other coworker has one. Someone upstairs is always sharing iTunes with me, But now administrators have to look at them in a different way, I guess.
Yeah, though the thing is, this has always been a problem with the iPod. It's basically just a USB hard drive.
Yep, that's exactly what it is. Only the hard drive happens to come with a little decoder chip to play music.
I mean, I remember a long time ago with the PlayStation. You know how it had a broadband adapter that no one used?
The PlayStation 2, I think, did.
There was a thing for the PlayStation 1.
Was there? I don't.
Or it might have been the Dreamcast. I think it was the Dreamcast.
The Dreamcast definitely had it, yes.
I'm pretty sure. Anyway, someone made a disc that would basically turn your Dreamcast into a network sniffer, and it would store data to cards in it.
Yep, that sounds good.
So you could just stick a Dreamcast somewhere in a company, plug it into a network jack, and go nuts.
Dreamcast is really a Windows CE computer. They hacked the hell out of that thing. There were just so many hacks for the Dreamcast. It was a PlayStation emulator at one point, even.
Yeah, I mean, if I had finished the song yet, I'd play the Rim Doesn't Care song, but security really begins and ends with people, and very few technological measures will actually increase your security any substantial way beyond basic due diligence.
Yeah. Once you've pretty much covered all the bases, like, we don't let people just, send packets into our network randomly, and, we don't let people run programs they shouldn't be running and all that. Not everything else is only, like, slight helps. Blocking iPods only helps you a tiny bit.
See, the thing is, people really have a weird... I should do a whole show on this.
Yeah, we should do a show about security next
Especially since
week.
I've been doing a lot of security-type work lately.
I took a lot of security classes, and I know a lot about writing secure softwares.
Yeah, I know a lot about, like, institutional security.
All right.
And audit security and Sarbanes-Oxley security and all that horse shit.
All right, let's do it then.
All right, because it's too complicated to talk about now.
That's for sure.
But the best I can say, kind of a teaser for our show, is that security is not what you think it is when it comes to IT. And people really, especially people who are in power in companies, really don't understand it. And they'll crack down on things that look like security holes that aren't.
Because magazines tell them to.
And they'll ignore things that are security holes but don't look like it.
Because basically no one in a company wants to spend money on security because they don't get anything, they don't get money out of it.
A company decides...
It's just risk aversion.
Actually, a company a lot of times will decide that security is an important thing, and they'll pump tons of money into it, basically ineffectively.
Yep.
Or they'll become too secure technologically.
And then they make their business less efficient.
Either that, or worse, they'll make their employees less reliable because the employees resent being treated like criminals. And then employees will think, oh, they think they can keep me from getting this data? I can get this data.
Yep.
Yeah, so we'll do a whole show on that.
Cool.
Someday.
We might do more than one show on that.
Yeah, maybe we'll do a series.
Anyway, next news. There's this guy. I don't know a lot about him, but apparently he's a funny, famous British guy called Ricky Gervais, I think is the correct pronunciation.
Wow, that would have been funny if you'd done it on purpose.
I mispronounced correct pronunciation? Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Ricky Gervais. Anyway, he has a podcast that was #1 on iTunes for a while. It's still pretty high up there, and I haven't listened to it, but it's supposedly funny. I'll take people's word for it because people of all shapes and sizes have been praising it. Anyway, it's been decided that starting next month, his podcast is no longer going to be free. He's going to charge $7 a month to listen to his podcast.
That's the end of that.
Yeah, there he goes. Down the shitter. I don't know anyone who's going to pay $7 a month unless he makes like a 1-hour episode 7 days a week. That's like ridiculously pee in your pants hilarious.
Now,
he's not going to get many buyers.
I wonder how exactly he would do that. Do you have to buy it through iTunes?
Yeah, in iTunes, when you go to get a podcast, it just says subscribe. Where in the spot where it normally says.
All right, so it does all this through iTunes.
Yeah.
See, I don't really use iTunes, so...
Oh, so the way
when I think of a podcast, I think of just an RSS feed.
Yeah, well, in iTunes, subscribing to an RSS feed for a podcast that's in the iTunes directory, because you can just cut and paste the URL of a feed into iTunes. There's a subscribe button, which is the same button that you would normally push to buy a song that would say buy on it. It just, in the place where the money, the dollar amount usually says 99 cents, it says free. So you see a podcast, you just click subscribe, and you're subscribed. For his, apparently, what it's going to say, subscribe, $7. So you click subscribe, you pay $7, through iTunes, and then it gets subscribed.
Great. Honestly, I'm going to keep an eye on this, but I really think that his podcast is going to completely disappear in short order.
I think this is going to be, because it is really popular and supposedly really funny, I think this is going to be the first real test of whether people are willing to pay money for audio content if it's good enough.
I can tell all of you out there now that Geeknights will always forevermore be free.
Yep.
We might do things to make money someday if we get crazy popular, but those things would be like selling T-shirts or whatever. We would never
Selling
ever
public appearances.
Yeah, we would never ever make you pay for Geeknights.
Selling our bodies.
Yeah, at least my body.
Yeah, whatever. Anyway, we might, even if crazy stuff happens and we still want to do this for some reason, we'll do whatever. We'll host it in foreign lands and go to Antarctica or who knows.
Yeah, but Geeknights will always be free. You can quote us on that forever because we're basically doing this for fun. Any money or fame we get as a result of it is purely just awesome.
If Geeknights is ever not free, come kick me in the nuts and bring this episode of the podcast with you. And so play me saying it and then kick me in the nuts and then do it again.
Because there's nothing we could say to that.
No, not really. That we would be pooned. Totally pooned.
Yeah, I like to think that we're fairly incorruptible, but I wonder what would happen if an evil man came and said, here's $5 million, charge $1 for your podcast.
I would use the $5 million to purchase a cup. All right.
So, for someone who has a throat infection and it's incredibly painful to talk, I've sure been talking a lot.
Yeah, you're, that's why we pushed all my newses to the front, and now,
so propaganda has always been around, and the United States military makes great use of propaganda.
I don't think Hammurabi had propaganda, did he?
There was propaganda in the ancient Greeks.
All right, that's early enough.
There were a lot of things written about various cities in Greece that are very disparaging, and they were mostly written by people in other Greek states.
I wonder if some of the hieroglyphs in Egypt are propaganda.
Well, you realize that there's evidence that the Egyptians had another language that they used for day-to-day.
Oh,
and
yeah,
the hieroglyphs were like an archival language.
Yeah, but I'm just wondering if...
I assume they did. I assume there are things like Cleopatra does the nasty. If you've never seen Bubba Hotep, go see it right now.
Yeah.
Pause the podcast, go to a Blockbuster, rent Bubba Hotep, and watch it.
Or else you won't get the following joke about...
Suck the dog dick of Anubis.
Asswipe.
So anyway, propaganda. I'm not going to talk about the history of propaganda, even though I'd like to.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah, that'll be a show someday.
All right.
We're real good at
down so you don't forget them.
Yeah, let's see. Propaganda show. Because people have complained about how we talk about a show that we'll do, and they say, ooh, that's awesome. I can't wait for you to do it. And then we never do it.
Yeah, go to the forums and make a list of all the shows you want us to do because we have a lot of hard times, usually Monday and Thursday, going, what are we going to talk about? I don't know. Duh.
All right, but basically, Donald Rumsfeld, to sum this up really quickly.
Donald asshole.
He wants the U.S. to make its propaganda machine more efficient and quicker.
Wait, so he's just like, we're making propaganda.
We need to have it quicker.
Let's do it better.
Quote, the U.S. must fight back by operating a more effective 24-hour propaganda machine or risk a dangerous deficiency.
How about just not making any propaganda and letting honesty and truth come out of the existing media machine?
This really perplexes me. So we now have a news item. This is in the international news, where the U.S. government admits to propagandizing the Iraqi people and talks about how they need to do it better. Now,
we're not lying to these people and convincing them and implanting our ideals in them enough.
Well, no, I don't know about you, but I can read the newspaper, and some dude in Iraq can also read the newspaper. And if he reads in the newspaper that the U.S. is trying to propagandize him and openly admits to doing so, and then he turns and he sees U.S. propaganda, I don't see it being so effective anymore.
You know, you'd think that, but the nature of propaganda these days is very different. It's like back in the day, propaganda would be like a poster saying, Russia bad.
Well, now they're called like information ops.
Yeah, now it's like what they'll do is hire a PR guy who goes to a newspaper and talks to a journalist, and that journalist writes a story for the newspaper about how, something is so great or something is a new popular trend or a new fad, and to you it looks like a normal news story, and it is a normal news story. It's not an advertisement, and it wasn't paid for by anyone, but some PR guy got the journalist to write it and got to write it the way they wanted to, and that's how propaganda works these days. You can't tell. It's not obvious like the stuff in your social studies book.
I mean, I'm not talking about this issue because I want to talk about what's going on in Iraq, because we talk enough about our political views randomly anyway, and it isn't really a political
nobody
show.
in the world agrees with them.
Yeah.
Because we just piss everyone off.
Yeah, but not to talk about Iraq, but just talk about propaganda. And technology has really changed the way propaganda works. And Scott just mentioned the media campaigns that people will do for various reasons. And I will note that there is probably one going on right now that I have just picked up on. So see if you can see this in the media. Curling.
Not curling your hair.
Curling, the Canadian sport.
It's Canadian?
It's not Canadian, but where I grew up.
I've always known it as like a thing people only care about when it's in the Olympics.
Oh, no, where I grew up, curling was fairly well known.
Oh,
I was
really?
in Michigan, and in Canada, curling's very popular.
Oh, okay. I had one friend's dad in high school, and his dad curled, and he had a curling stone in the basement.
I've tried it a couple times.
Oh, I never actually tried it. Is it fun?
It's kind of fun.
Yeah? Well, I figure it's a lot like bowling. You just throw this rock down the ice, and a bunch of guys do the broomy bit, and, that's it.
It's kind of like high-stakes, awesome bocce.
Oh, bocce's cool.
I love bocce.
Yeah. All right.
But I've just noticed, because we don't watch TV at all, but I was in the laundromat today, and I caught on the news, they were showing like the results of curling, and then they talked about how Bush went to watch curling. And then later, I caught a commercial for another news bit where they were going to talk about the rise of popularity in curling in the U.S. and like why it's becoming more popular, and how they think it's going to be popular in the South, like it's going to move down.
You know what that is? See, curling isn't actually popular. No one gave a shit about curling. They're making these news stories saying people give a shit about curling, and as a result of these stories, people will begin to give a shit about curling. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy, a self-fulfilling
Not to disparage
everything.
curling. I think it's a cool sport.
Oh, yeah, curling's not so bad.
It's
there are a
just
lot
that
worse things.
They're trying to make it popular for some reason, and I'll bet that reason involves money.
I bet that reason involves the Curling Association of whatever, who knows, paying PR guys to make this happen.
Because you could see, I mean, just kind of keep an eye out in the news and see if I'm right about this. Just pay attention. Watch for people talking about how popular curling is nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
The same thing happened with Sudoku a while ago.
Yeah. Sudoku, did you see a bunch of people playing Sudoku before you saw it on the news or after?
Yeah. There were news articles all over the place suddenly, like a blitz. Sudoku is becoming crazy popular in the U.S. All the smart people have been playing Sudoku in the U.S. And then people started playing Sudoku.
And you started seeing it in supermarkets, and you started seeing it all over the place. It comes, this isn't a chicken-egg mystery. We know which one comes first. It's obvious to anyone with eyeballs. People were not playing Sudoku like crazy nuts. It's a very old, silly puzzle that a computer can figure it out in 2 seconds. It's a simple brain task. Anyone can do it. It doesn't take a genius. It just makes dumb people feel smart when they figure it out because it's just a matter of time, not a matter of anyway. The point is that they said it was popular, and therefore it became popular. The same thing with the Tickle Me Elmo things, and the Furbies, and the Tamagotchis.
They hype them up like they're going to sell out, and then, they sell out.
Yeah. If they didn't say anything about the Tickle Me Elmos on the news, no one would freaking want one. It's a stupid toy. Same with the Tamagotchis. Those things are like a waste of time. They're boring.
Yeah.
Not like the Pokemon. Those are
Yeah. Or the Nintendogs.
You get the drift.
Yeah, but anyway, we'll do a whole show on this, and I actually wrote it down so I won't forget, because I took a lot of classes on this.
Yeah.
I mean, I went to school for IT, but I kind of scanned my way around getting into classes I really shouldn't have been able to take, and I ended up taking the entire professional technical communications major, which includes a lot of, like, persuasion propaganda type stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I could talk about this for hours, especially if my throat didn't hurt.
Yeah. All right.
So, Windows Vista sucks.
Great, again.
Yeah, it's just the worst thing in the world. So Yahoo News has what looks like an op-ed about 10 reasons why you should buy Windows Vista.
Wait. There's one reason we should buy Windows Vista?
Well, all right. So this guy claims to have 10 reasons why buying Windows Vista is going to be a good thing.
All right. Let's play a game. Ready? You say the reason, and then I'll shoot it down. And if I fail, every time I fail to shoot down a reason, I'll give you $1.
Or how about this? For every reason you fail to shoot it down, we'll each buy 1 copy of Windows Vista.
All right.
Because I've already read through these.
All right, let's go for it.
All right, so 1, security. Windows Vista is going to be really secure. It's going to come with a firewall and such.
So wait, so it's already so insecure it's running all these services it needs a firewall. And 2, let's see how long it takes to hack it. Let's see, 1 day,
Well,
2
this
days?
same claim was made about Windows XP.
Yeah. Oh, Windows 2000 has all these security problems. Here comes
And
Windows
Windows
XP.
released,
It will
like-
solve all your problems.
They released like 8 patches recently, like in the last couple of weeks. They talk about how there's the Windows services hardening, which is this buzzword thing where it prevents, quote, obscure background processes from being hijacked and changing your system.
All right, we're going to have to start a
Yeah.
betting pool to see how long it takes those spyware guys to...
They've also got full disk encryption, which you might think is cool, but I see it as 1, performance hit, and 2, if your Windows installation breaks, your data's gone forever.
Yep.
Great.
There's also another problem with full disk encryption is that you're not going to be, your Linux, you're not going to be able to mount your Vista file systems or anything. How are you going to recover them? There's just no recovery whatsoever. You're screwed.
All right, now this one shoots itself down. 2, Internet Explorer 7. Now here's the quote. IE gets a much-needed Firefox-inspired makeover.
Okay, while this could have something to it because IE is a little more optimized performance-wise and memory usage-wise than Firefox is on the Windows platform.
That's mostly because IE is also the Explorer in Windows, and it's running all the time anyway.
Yeah, and that causes actually a problem in that it's most of the security holes in Windows are because IE is so tied into the OS that through the web browser you can attack the operating system itself. Anyway,
So that's what they claim to have fixed with IE7. They claim that it runs in a reduced privilege mode so that it can't access other code, and it's basically in a sandbox.
well, that's good. But on the other hand, a lot of people have been using the IE7 beta. And from every single review I've read has said it's much better than IE6, but it's still no Firefox. They
No,
tried
here's
to
the
copy
thing.
Firefox, and they didn't quite do it all the way.
No, here's the thing. There are 2 versions of IE7. You only get the real version if you're running Vista. No one has used the real version yet because it requires Vista.
Well, if the non-real version of IE7 is not quite Firefox, I can't... there might be a small
we're
chance.
just shooting down the point here, not the fact that it sucks in general.
Yeah.
Their point is that IE7 is better because now it runs into this secure protected mode. In Linux, Windows, you're fucked anyway, but at least in Linux, Firefox already runs in a limited mode because you're not root. So it can't do crap to you.
You could run Firefox as a root.
You can,
but then
if you're an
even
idiot.
then, it can't really... It's still not very limited.
Well,
in
for
what
anyone
you
who
can-
hasn't used Linux, in Windows, you pretty much have to be administrator or you can't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
In Linux, you never need to be root, almost ever.
Yeah, pretty much only if you're configuring the computer or installing software or something.
All right, number 3, because I want to get through these. There's a lot of them.
All right.
Righteous eye candy.
Actually, all the XGL type stuff is coming out for Linux. It's actually starting to work out, all the fancy 3D stuff.
Or,
that's
OS
been in
X.
the news like all weekend. And yeah, OS X has looked good for years.
Yeah, OS X is fantastic and beautiful.
So basically, they're openly admitting that Windows is ugly and that finally it's going to look better.
Plus, they're not doing it very elegantly. Final quote here, you need powerful graphics hardware and a robust system to manage all of these effects.
Wait, so it's actually a reason not to buy Vista because it doesn't work on
Yeah.
shitty computers. It only works on amazing computers that don't exist yet.
All right, I'm going to go through the rest of these real quick. Desktop search.
Google
I already
Desktop.
have that. Even if I don't use Google, I can already do Control F and search for anything.
Yep.
All they're doing is making it faster.
They're making it Google Desktop styling, I think.
Better updates.
Yeah, I heard that instead of using a web page in IE to update the OS, there's going to be a separate updating program.
Yeah, a separate updating program that won't let you update a pirated copy of Windows, which I know most people I know have.
Oh, sucks.
More media.
But the Windows media programs suck. You always use some.
Yeah.
You replace every single one of those. That's the first thing you do. Is
Any
you get
media
VLC
you want online
and
is-
Winamp, and
Any media you want online is going to be free anyway.
actually, I heard that Winamp's dead. People are all using something else.
Winamp
now.
is dead.
Yeah.
Winamp had a security hole in it recently, too.
Oh, sucks. But yeah, everyone's using VLC and whatnot. No one uses freaking the Windows Media Player crap.
I think they're talking mostly about the proprietary protected content that'll only be able to be watched on Vista.
But that's the stuff that you don't want is the DRM.
Plus, someone will crack it and it'll be out there for free.
Yep. All right.
Parental controls.
That's a good thing? Not that I know of.
Yeah, what do they mean by parental controls? I mean, if you want to control your kid's access, you give them their own account and you just restrict it.
Yeah.
If you really don't want them to get access, you set up some sort of net filter like Net Nanny or whatever, if you're that much of a horrible parent.
Yeah, you can't freaking pay attention to what your kids are doing and make sure, they know what they're looking at.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to get off on a rant here, to quote a comedian. But anyway, my parents had dimly understood what was going on the internet, and they just gave me free reign. I had a full-on, completely unlimited internet connection for much of my life, and I turned out okay.
Yeah, I played whatever video game I want and interneted pretty much whatever I wanted. And my parents would sometimes be like, all right, yeah, you probably shouldn't watch that, or yeah, don't go looking at porn or whatever. But
basically, there are all
whatever.
these features that, like here, you can even block access to games based on the ESRB ratings.
It's not really useful. Considering
right.
most PC games worth playing nowadays are highly rated.
Better backups. They claim they made that system restore better, not suck.
All right, that's good. However, are they going to be encrypted? Because if they aren't, then that kind of defeats...
Oh, more importantly, that never really worked.
I think that's what they're saying is that the new one is going to work.
Yeah, we'll see if it actually does.
Because backups really don't make sense anymore now that we have these gigantic hard drives. You really need a hard drive to back it up. So there really needs to be a new backup paradigm to...
Well, you know what my backup paradigm is? RAID.
Yeah, you know what mine is? My important files go on a DVD, and there aren't many of them.
Well, I guess we could do a whole show on backing up if we wanted to. Because
oh, God. Today's we could do a whole show on asterisk.
Yeah, well, backing up includes two different things. One is backing up data so that if there's a hardware or major software failure, the data is still intact.
Mm-hmm.
The other important part is taking snapshots of a system so that if a change is made and you have to undo that change, you'll be able to undo it by reverting.
Mm-hmm.
Those are two separate issues that are backed up in separate ways. RAID covers the first one only. Tapes cover the second one only. Having both is expensive. You have to make a choice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll do a whole show on that, too. Let me note that here.
Yeah, well, you can use tapes for the first one, but it sucks.
Yeah, it's not very efficient, and tapes are actually very expensive.
Now they are, especially those machines that move the tapes around. But those are fun to watch, where they go bzz, bzz, and they move. Okay.
All right.
Is that all his reasons?
Peer-to-peer collaboration. It claims that the Windows collaboration module uses peer-to-peer technology to let Vista users work together in a shared workspace. Now, basically, this is probably the only one that has any sort of usefulness to it at all. Basically, they're saying that it looks like Windows Vista is going to come with VPN, ad hoc, workgroup networking.
You know what? There are a million third-party things that have been doing this for years.
Hamachi.
Yeah. There are also websites that do this sort of thing. You can just all visit the website, and then, boom, you'll be collaborating.
Yep. I mean, I'm not saying that it's a bad thing. Things like this are cool. But why does the operating system need to do that?
Yeah, that should be like some piece of software that does that. I don't know.
All right, the last one is quick setup. They say that it takes about 15 minutes to install Vista.
It takes 5 minutes to install Ubuntu. Shut up.
Yeah, or Knoppix. You hit enter. Oh, no, you type install and hit enter.
You don't even have to type in, if you want to install it.
Yeah, if you want to install it.
True. Okay.
So, yeah, I'm done with that. Windows Vista is a terrible thing.
OS X, it comes installed.
Yeah.
All right. The last thing I've got here is this thing called FeedTree, which I haven't actually used, so I can't give a full review of it. But supposedly what FeedTree is BitTorrent for feeds. Right now, the way it works is a lot of people who are web, server guys like me know this problem. You have an RSS feed. People subscribe to the RSS feed. The RSS readers check these feeds like every 5 minutes to see if you posted something new. If you have a blog where you update once a week, this can eat up a whole lot of bandwidth and you serving a whole bunch of requests that are basically useless.
Well, I mean, look at our site. FeedBurner gets hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hits just constantly.
But they know that we're only updating once a day around midnight. So, why do we have all these extra things? This is the only way we can make it work right now is a polling system as opposed to an interrupt system. Computer science, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, I mean, luckily all the good, feed aggregators or podcast directories the directory will only ping us once a day, or we'll ping it, and then it'll update.
Yeah, the pinging the directories is a very good system.
Yeah,
but
the problem
but there are people still subscribing to the feeds in those directories, asking them, is there a new episode? Is there a new episode? Is there a new episode?
Yep.
So FeedTree attempts to solve this problem by using the BitTorrent solution, which is where the people themselves ask each other if the feed has been updated. And they don't really ask each other, they also kind of tell each other. So if a bunch of people use FeedTree to subscribe to, say, the Geeknights feed, and there's an update to the Geeknights feed, then somehow behind the scenes, instead of everyone constantly asking Geeknights, is there a new episode or is there an episode, one guy finds out about a new episode, and then he just tells all his friends, who tell all their friends, who tell all their friends, and anyone else who is using FeedTree and is also subscribed to Geeknights will find out from other people using FeedTree subscribed to Geeknights.
Now, I think it's a neat idea. One, they have to make sure it's secure. I mean, I can think of a million ways to use that for evil.
Yeah, look, I see who's subscribing to these feeds. Oh, look, I tell someone that there's a new item in that feed.
But then I point them to my malicious site.
I point them to my site where there's something that looks like an MP3, but is actually a Trojan. All kinds of horrible things.
Yeah, the other thing is, it's cool,
encryption solves that.
But it solves a problem that doesn't exist yet. The RSS is used by a tiny fraction of the number of people out there.
It is, but it's also a very high percentage of bandwidth on sites that do have it.
It is.
If you look at a site like...
I guess I'm saying that I'm not saying this is a bad thing. I'm saying I'm glad this appeared now before the bandwidth became a real problem, like a pressing issue. Because now, by the time people really have problems with RSS bandwidth usage, this thing will already, if it's as good as it claims to be in place or be ready to be accepted.
These people do really have problems with RSS bandwidth usage. It's not that the bandwidth usage of RSS is so much they can't handle it. No, that's the MP3 downloading. They can't handle it.
Yeah.
The problem with the RSS is that the percentage of bandwidth the RSS requests are taking up is disproportionate to the file size and how often it actually should be requested, as opposed to other things. Like, if you look at, just look at my blog. It's a crummy little blog. Maybe 100 people subscribe to it. I don't even know. I don't care. I don't pay attention to that so much. And the RSS feed is by far the most bandwidth and most requested thing there is. Because if one guy subscribes to it, that means he's going to check it 100 times a day. Lately I've actually been posting something to it once a day because Rim wasn't here and I had nothing better to do, but... Usually I post once every few weeks. These are people constantly downloading this one file from my website and getting nothing out of it. And as opposed to actual blog entries, even ones that get crazy popular, which I've had a couple of those in my time, it's nothing compared to what the feed gets. It's just out of control.
Yeah, so hopefully this will pan out. We'll probably report on it again once we know more about it.
I think I'm going to try it out tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what it's like if it's worth it.
So that's all we've got for today. At least we've come up with a bunch of ideas for shows to do on Mondays. Since Mondays are always the days where it's easy to find news, it's hard to find good sci-tech stories to talk about where we could actually provide insightful commentary.
Yeah. Oh, another thing is I'm thinking about having themed weeks. Like, the one idea I came up with is a robot week, where on Monday we can talk about robots, and then on Tuesday we could talk about robot games, and on Wednesday we could talk about robot anime, and on Thursday we can talk about robot something else.
If you guys think this is a good idea, we'll go with it.
Yeah, if you can think of anything else that would be a good themed week, something where we can talk about it in a science tech perspective, and then it, video games containing it, and then anime and manga and comics containing it, and then something else, then, I need more ideas like that. That way we can, have a bunch of themed weeks, and it'll be all really cool.
Yep, so email us or hit us up in the forum.
Yeah.
And stay tuned tomorrow when, among other things, I'll be doing the first half of my Katsucon coverage.
Mm-hmm.
And Wednesday when I'll be doing a full podcast-length Katsucon con report.
And Thursday, what are we doing?
Thursday, we haven't decided yet.
I thought we came up with something. I forget.
Yeah, we did. I already forgot.
And next week, New York Comic-Con.
Yes, New York Comic-Con. Week after that, spring break. We might have some people coming over.
Yeah, there's also non-con the following week where I might get to play that new German board game, Kalis.
Kalis.
Yeah. So, yeah, we got well beyond 10 episodes.
Stay tuned.
Yeah.
And that was Geek Nights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for our opening theme.
Be sure to visit our website at www.frontrowcrew.com. If you like our podcasts, you'll love our forums. Make sure you visit them. You can send your email feedback to geeknights@gmail.com. And if you want, you can leave us a voicemail at 206-333-1537.
Geek Nights airs every weeknight, Monday through Thursday.
Geeknights is recorded with absolutely no studio and no audience. But unlike those other talk shows, it's actually recorded at night.